Alright, here's a video review for Iron Factory's IF-EX27 Shrike's Feather, aka Slipstream. And one of the first things you'll notice, like this is my camera is in the exact same position it always is, she's very wee. She's a very small version. It has a few differences in her transformation as well, which is actually kind of neat. She's got thinner feet here as the thrusters. The cockpit doesn't fold all the way around like it does for some others. And you can see a smaller torso, but it's not just the smaller torso that's shrinking her. Like here is the standard Iron Factory Seeker mode. You can see she actually is physically much smaller. There are some similarities in the transformations, and there are a few differences as well. She does come with, she does not come with her own stand. She does come with an adapter that will work with the previous stands if you've gotten any of the other Iron Factory Seekers or figures that have come with the stand. And it's longer and skinnier. It's got a couple little pegs here on the end. You can see up underneath her, there's a couple of pegs right up against her body there where you can take this, slide it up, and actually tab it into those pegs up near her body. And it actually locks in, honestly, even a little better than the standard Seeker port. And then you can just put that on any 5mm port stand there in her jet mode. Getting it off is a little bit more problematic because it clips on so well. Maybe we'll do that mid-transformation. And like I said, her transformation is a little different than the others. You can go ahead and for one thing, you can't, her legs push up into here so much that you can't actually collapse the landing gear like you can on some of the larger ones after the legs are collapsed. It does push those landing gear out. I feel like, actually looking at it, it looks like it may actually even be part of the mechanism that allows the legs to extend. It's part of this hinge here, so they do have to flip out. And the feet with the kind of high-heeled feet and the pointed toes here. The arms are actually, you can't leave the null rays on her arms. I mean, I guess you could, but they wouldn't look right. Like you can with the larger Seekers. Do be careful if you're pulling these out. These are pretty tight, and this is much thinner than the previous stuff, so make sure you've got a good grip on the bulk of the null ray blaster up there near the end of it, and just kind of slowly twist it out if it's stuck a little bit. But then her arms actually tab in under the wings here in that position because they don't slide up and down. They stay at her shoulders the whole time. Now that we've got that out of the way, we can go ahead and you can see those holes there in the lower body where this plugs in for the stand. So bring her shoulders out. The wings, actually, you can see there's a tab here on the side of the body that goes into a port on the wing. That's how those lock in place, and then flip them around and up. The cockpit, you fold it up, you can fold up the landing gear, and it just folds down and sits on her back like that. It doesn't come into the torso like the previous ones did. It's just a piece hanging off her back there. And turn her head around. Oh, come on, head. It's just a matter of getting the grip. There we go. Getting it started, and once you got it going, just like that, you can kind of hinge this up onto her back as well. Hold her fins back or forward onto her legs, however you want to do it. They can go either way. Same with the smaller fins. Like that. And then attach the null rays to her shoulders or whatever kind of rays she has. I'm just used to calling all of them for all the Seekers null rays, even though I know they're like cluster bombs and concussion cannons and everything like that. And there she is. She's small. Her head's a little bigger in proportion to her torso here. Let me see if we can get this. Nice colors, nicely posable. Again, for being small, she doesn't really lose most of the joints that the larger ones have. Again, she doesn't have the shoulder joints. They're a ball joint, but they don't have that extra hinge to bring them down. But a ball joint at the elbow. There's no bicep swivel. Ball joint hips, hinge knees, the feet, and the head. So I guess she is a little bit more limited than the larger ones, but kind of a neat little figure. And just for scale, I've got Starscream here somewhere. Here she is with Starscream in his full-on But so you can see she's much smaller. It's not just some of the early pictures made it look like they just kind of compacted her torso. I can't speak tonight. To make her body a little smaller and than the larger Seekers, but overall, everything about her is smaller. There's some very similar design elements, as well as some actually pretty significant changes to make her a smaller, lighter Seeker. So yeah, pretty cool, pretty neat. I love the colors. I love that tealish green and purple. It really looks good. And again, just to have, I've got so many Seekers now, to have something physically different, like just physically different, not just differentiated by colors and minor details, is pretty cool. Iron Factory's IF-EX27 Shrike's Feather.